the United Nations has warned it will be impossible for around 1 million Palestinians to leave northern Gaza by midnight after Israel told them to move for their own safety. The order comes ahead of an expected Israeli ground offensive. The main UN agency in the Gaza Strip called the order horrendous and warned that Gaza was becoming a hellhole on the brink of collapse. The World Health Organization appealed to Israel to immediately rescind the order, saying unimaginable human suffering is now unfolding. Well, Israel has been dropping leaflets from the air into northern Gaza, telling people to leave. Hamas has dismissed the Israeli order as psychological warfare. Well, Israel has deployed tanks on Gaza's boundaries. In a statement released after a sixth night of airstrikes, the Israeli Defense Forces accused Hamas of using civilians as human shields. There's tension too on Israel's border with Lebanon after a meeting with Iran's foreign ministry. The deputy head of the powerful Lebanese militant group Hezbollah rejected calls to keep out of the conflict in Gaza, saying the group is fully prepared and ready to enter the war against Israel when the time comes. Well, these are the live pictures from Gaza. We have seen rockets being fired out of the Gaza Strip through the course of today already, but it is pretty quiet as those Israeli airstrikes continue intermittently. Let me show you the pictures, though, from Ramallah, from the West Bank, because disturbance is there, and you can see some of the live pictures coming into us. Still people there on the streets, and we had those reports earlier that Israeli forces had killed 4 Palestinians. So those just some of the latest pictures coming into us. Let's bring you the very latest details from our correspondent on the ground, Tom Bateman.
Some civilians are heading south from Gaza City, already suffering a humanitarian disaster. They're on the move after the Israeli army gave 1.1 million people 24 hours to flee their homes. Everything is threatened, says Hussam. How long will this go on? There are no more houses. The whole area is destroyed, she says. With Gaza under an Israeli siege, the military's message is all that's getting in, dropped by leaflet, telling civilians to move for their protection after it says Hamas waged war on Israel. The armed group is calling it psychological warfare, telling people not to heed it. Such a mass evacuation in 24 hours is impossible. It would cause chaos, and aid groups say it could have devastating consequences.
The forcible relocation of civilians like this with a 24-hour notice is crystal clear violations of international law. We have reports from our people on the ground that the panic, the chaos in an already traumatized population that is on a bombardment like no other is limitless.
The Israeli bombardment continued into the morning. People won't flee for their own lives when there are still the lives of others to save. With many more dead and power to life-saving facilities for the survivors running out. The wounded are still being brought into already packed hospitals, which are dangerously low on generator fuel and medicines. Israel has said it won't lift its block on supplies until its hostages are freed by Hamas. And with daylight came more rocket fire from Gaza into Israel. And the relatives of Israel's dead and missing are still desperately seeking information. Anat's grandfather was killed, her grandmother taken hostage. Like others, she now fears for their fate amid the intensifying fighting. The US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin arrived, vowing his full backing for Israel, and he met the Israeli Defense Minister.
Our neighbors is Hamas, the ISIS of Gaza, an organization enjoying the Iranian payroll. I cannot let the world forget the brutal attacks Hamas terrorists conduct against Israeli children, Israeli women, Israeli elderly and entire families.
Washington wants to stop this war from spreading, from engulfing the wider region. But Israel's attempts to push 1 million Palestinians south in Gaza also risks greater instability. And that is because it puts them closer to the border with neighbouring Egypt. And the Egyptians have made it clear they won't accept refugees. There are many ways this crisis can now slip much further out of control. And the Israeli tanks are still lining up on Gaza's perimeter.